Okay, let's get to where to do assessment. This is the learning process. Okay, this graph, this picture is very common. Learning outcomes, and then we do teaching methods and assessment for learning outcomes. We care about learning objectives and expected learning outcomes. For teaching methods, we care about teaching and learning strategies and methods or practices, and of course opportunities for learning, and then assessment, assessing students' achievement of learning outcomes. This graph is perfectly okay and true. To me, I don't like it. Why? Because it gives this false reading, false indication, I would say, that assessment comes last. So we do assessment at the end. I don't believe so. And in fact, we do assessment throughout the process. So we do pre-assessment or prior evaluation. We do formative assessment and feedback throughout the process. And then we do summative assessment. So actually we do assessment throughout the process. Yes, sir.
The previous slide actually is of special importance.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, the learning outcomes should be consistent with the teaching strategies.
Right.
Teaching strategies should be consistent with the assessment.
Right.
Assessment or evaluation of students should be aligned with your way of teaching. And your way of teaching is to deliver the outcomes.
Right.
That's why the previous slide is of special importance for all of us.
Right.
On the other hand, the evaluation, the assessment, institutional assessment is beyond our responsibilities.
Right.
Our main intention actually, when we decided to attend this workshop, is all about the student assessment, which is the previous slide.
Okay.
Which comes first.
Okay, but first of all, we must understand how our work, our assessment fits within the system. If we don't have a vision, have you read the institution's vision concerning assessment? No, you must read it today. It's your responsibility as a faculty member. How in the world you will assess students and you don't know what's the vision of the institution? If they do, I don't know, quizzes, MCQs, whatever. What I'm trying to say here, let's understand assessment as a whole. And then, of course, we will focus on our role. As I mentioned, the previous slide is perfectly fine. Personally, it's my opinion, I don't like it. Because people, when they see it, less experienced professors, they think, oh, assessment, I'll do it just later, okay? Some faculty members, they will start their courses, okay, with no assessment, okay? They don't know, and I'll show you an example today, okay? They will say, oh, this will be decided later. Oh, where's the rubric, professor? Oh, this will be decided later. Why? Because they believe assessment comes later. So I agree with you again, but what I'm trying to say here, and this is perfectly fine because the double arrows there, but it just this is misleading to me at least. I'm talking about.
But this is the core of our responsibilities.
Okay. It's a cycle.
We are delivering learning outcomes.
Yeah, but today we are talking about
practicing teaching strategies,
yes.
And we are doing the student assessment.
Of course, but today we are not talking about teaching strategies. Today our focus is assessment. Therefore, we must ask some questions like, for pre-assessment, we must ask what learning outcomes do students expect to achieve? Okay, this is assessment at this level. And if you don't know what's learning outcomes or LOs, they're statements that describe and identify what learner will know and be able to do by the end of a learning level or unit. And it's not our discussion today. Okay. However, I encourage all of us to attend some workshops or lessons, courses on learning outcomes, and we may ask other questions when we are concerned about teaching strategies, like what are the best activities for students to learn. Many professors think of assessment as a tool to assess all the students. No, it's a tool to assess your teaching practices. Is lecturing works? Is it working? If not, okay, let's do another thing. Let's do maybe projects. Does that work? No, maybe I do different thing, okay? So it's also not only assessing students, but also assessing our teaching practices, if that makes sense. And then in terms of the final assessment, the summative assessment, we ask questions like, what are the evidence of student learning? Is it there's scores? Is that the evidence we want to see? Or we want them to maybe create something? And this is something interesting and important because we will talk about alternative assessment and we'll come to it. Okay? All right. So there are 3 types of assessment that associated with learning. Assessment as learning and for learning and of learning. Okay? I have this activity for you, and we'll come together later to think together. Okay, so please, in the handout, I put it in page 2. What do we mean by assessment for learning, assessment as learning, assessment of learning? Let's start filling out the first column, okay, individually, and then when we share, we will fill out the next column we think. Okay, let's do it within maybe a minute or 2. Write down everything that you may be able to think of. Examples, definitions, anything. Okay, thank you very much. Let's hear some thoughts, ideas, opinions. Yes, please. Let's start with assessment for learning. Okay.
Assessment as learning, using the assessment as a tool for helping students learn.
Okay.
The third one, this is the common one, which is assessing certain learning.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. Any other thoughts from this side before we go to the other side? Yes, please.
Assessment for learning is completely different than assessment feedback, so teaching strategies for
Okay. Okay.
assessment as learning as she mentioned. To benefit from assessment strategy for student learning.
Okay.
And the last one, of learning for student evaluation.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, I hear definitions, which is good. Thank you very much. Would you give me examples? Do you have any examples? The lady here. Yeah, we'll come to you, doctor. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and for this activity, now when we share, we should take notes of what we think, okay? Okay, let's hear some examples of assessment for learning. Would you want to say anything? Yes, please.
For our department at the
Okay.
term, work
Okay,
discuss the results of
okay,
and based on the result, we try to put some solutions for the next term.
okay, so this is assessment for learning.
For them.
Okay, okay,
How to improve the students'
Okay. Okay.
the results.
okay. Okay, let's hear some examples for learning, doctor.
Assessment for learning the formative exam
Okay.
during the learning process
Okay.
is a good example for it.
Okay.
On the other hand, the homework,
Okay.
the assignment
Okay.
during the year, the academic year,
Okay.
during the learning process is a good example for assessment for learning.
Okay.
On the other hand, assessment as learning.
Okay.
When I teach, when I train my student on a certain practice, the rubric assessment,
Yes.
using rubric, is a good example for assessment as learning.
Okay.
Assessment of learning is usually done through summative exam,
Okay.
summative assessment by the end of the year.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Doctor.
Assessment for learning, I think it's about further learning. It's an assessment tool that has to do with further learning.
Okay.
I'll give you an example in just a couple of seconds. Assessment as learning, I see it as a tool for current learning. What we call the Socratic approach, where you ask a general question, and your audience is going to be descending naturally into an answer. And assessment of learning is about fitting into the big picture of the learning outcome.
Okay.
Assessment for learning can happen sort of like casually. They are like classroom discussions where you have like a hidden intention to teach the student something they don't directly see at the moment.
Okay.
It's sort of like tacit kind of tool.
Okay.
Assessment as learning, as I mentioned, I guess, in my opinion, the best way to describe it is the Socratic approach of teaching.
Okay.
Assessment of learning is actually the most formal type of the three.
Okay.
And it has to do with, throughout exams,
Okay.
quizzes, and
Okay, thank you very much. Very, very good and very interesting. Okay, I hear many ideas. Very good, mashallah. However, let me ask one last question. Who does assessment for learning? The student or the professor or the department? Who does it? Huh? You think, just tell me what you think.
Faculty member.
Professor who is doing this kind of assessment
Okay,
because he tried to push the students to be more active,
okay.
encourage them to interact with the professor.
Okay, so the professor. Okay, who does assessment as learning? You think? Yes?
Student himself.
Huh?
The student himself.
Okay.
Because he's aware about his
Okay.
judgment, he has an insight what I'm learning, what I should do.
Okay, so the student. Okay, who does assessment of learning? Faculty members. Okay, okay, very good. Okay, I'll tell you now. Well, of course, I hear very good, interesting ideas and very true ideas. Thank you very much. However, let's agree on some ideas. Assessment for learning. Oh, before that, when we say the student should do it, our job to provide the students with opportunities. Okay, so they can do such assessment. Okay, when we say student, it doesn't mean, oh, it's not my job, it's not my responsibility. It's our job. And today, actually, we're not instructors. We're not teachers. We are facilitators of learning. Okay? And how to facilitate? By or through via providing learning opportunities for students. Anyhow, when we say for learning, it's the formative assessment. As the doctor mentioned, it's throughout the year. Okay? I believe it shouldn't be graded. When it's graded, I believe it's not assessment for learning. Because now learning, it's like time's up. I'm starting to put grades on it. Okay? You already learned. Now it's time for grades. I believe when it's not graded. Okay? This is for learning. And also, it's for the professor to check the teaching and learning process and clarify students' learning and understand. Okay? As learning, it occurs when students, as the doctor mentioned and others there, are their own assessors. It's like self-evaluation, peer assessment, etc. However, it's our job to provide them with some activities, tasks, projects, opportunities, so they can actually go through the experience. And here students monitor their own learning, ask questions, and use a range of strategies to decide what they know and can do. Of learning, well, this is the obvious. As the doctor mentioned there, we assess the achievement of learning outcomes. And it's graded, okay? So it's like finals, maybe, I like what you, doctor, mentioned before. It's maybe the last assessment, the last draft, the final draft. So for example, if we, let's say, I will ask my students to write a research paper. The first draft shouldn't be graded, right? So I would say that's assessment as learning. And then second draft, okay, and it shouldn't be graded, it's for learning. And then the last and final draft should be of learning. Does that make sense? Okay? Okay, let's play this game. It's voting. Please use your smartphones, go to slido.com, and we'll start voting in a minute. Or less, actually. Okay, before you vote, I'll tell you what's the type of assessment. The first type of assessment, homework. What do you think of homework? Is it assessment of learning, for learning, or as learning? Homework.
For learning.
I don't know, we'll see. I don't know, we'll see. Okay. Like the majority of people says assessment as learning. Okay, assessment for learning. Oh, it's coming there. It's almost 40%. And then assessment of learning. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Why? Most of people says it's assessment as learning. First of all, for the 8%, it shouldn't be assessment of learning at all. In fact, I believe that homework shouldn't be graded. You shouldn't put grades on some homework, because the homework is an opportunity for a student to make mistakes, and learn. But I like how it's assessment as learning. How it's as learning? How come?
What do you like craft?
Huh?
What do you like craft? But then they do the essays and you have to correct according. You should tell them what are the advice.
Okay.
So the improvement they can do in that.
Okay, but is it self-evaluation type of thing? It could be, but in overall, I don't believe so. I believe it's assessment for exams. What is it? Okay, let's vote. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay. Oh my gosh. How come? Okay. Now it makes sense. Assessment of learning for learning. Okay. Exams. Okay. Why it's assessment of learning? Why? Huh? Yeah, that's one part of it, but also why? Huh? Okay, would you say it again? Okay, yes, that's true. Because usually when we do exams, actually to measure the achievement of outcomes, right? If we say, okay, our students should be able to solve problems, and we give them a problem, and then they solve it, that's of learning. That's the measurement of the achievement of the outcomes. Okay, one last thing, presentations. Presentations. It's not? assessment? Okay, we'll see. It is one of the alternative assessment. That's right. Okay, it's all learning, as learning. Okay. Okay. Why is of learning? Do you do presentations as finals? Huh?
As learning.
As learning, so students assess themselves? Yeah, I believe overall it's for learning. For learning. So maybe in the middle of maybe the unit, I'll ask them to do presentation in groups and then they present, right? Of course, maybe I'll have a rubric for it, a checklist, etc. But this is not like a final of learning. I'm not trying to measure or the achievement of an outcome. I want them to practice something and then I see how is my teaching is going, how's their learning is going, okay?
We can make a discussion skills presentation.
Yes, of course. So that's another thing. What I'm trying to say, please, when you come to decide on one assessment, think, is it for learning or as learning or of learning? If it's for learning, and then you'll say, you know what, I'll just put grades on it. This is going to be great. Probably you'll ruin your chances to make it for learning. Because people will act in different ways when it's graded or when it's not, okay? When it's in the middle of the year or at the end of the year. When it's pre-assessment, okay, or post-assessment, etc. It's just something for us all to think about and consider when we start working on our next assessment. Yes?
I believe that whether the learning is for learning, whether the assessment is for learning or as learning or for learning,
Yes.
the faculty members are the only responsible for assessment.
Okay.
Learning as assessment as learning,
Yes.
the students we couldn't rely on the students only
Yes.
to assess.
Okay.
They could assess under our supervision,
Okay.
under the supervision of the faculty member. Who guide the students? The faculty members
Okay.
guide the students during assessment. Otherwise, if they assess in a wrong way, how can we amend?
Okay.
How can we correct their way?
I would say for assessment as learning, we must learn more about some strategies. For example, the metacognition and metacognitive assessment strategies. Okay, so there are some strategies for it. We may, for example, if I'm doing faculty member workshop, I would bring a list or a survey for faculty members of some strategies, and I'll ask them if they know about it. Okay, it's for you. I don't care about your answer. If you said yes, it's for you. If you said no, I don't know about it, it's for you. You are your own assessor. Okay? For example, today, the pre-assessment, I asked you all to assess your knowledge and skills on assessment, right? That's for you. So you know where you are and compare yourself to others and also compare to what you will be discovering throughout the session today. This is for you. What I'm trying to say, our responsibility to provide opportunities for students. Okay, and there are plenty of strategies. Please make a search on metacognitive assessment strategies. There are plenty, and it's for students. They will assess themselves. However, we should provide them with the tools. Okay? Yes. Very good.
Self-assessment or his peer review for all the group. They give me the feedback. And they give him assessment for his feedback.
Very
And
good.
then give me what you call reflection of the feedback.
Okay.
So we are using student self-assessment and student peer assessment.
This is perfect. This is perfect. And I know where I came from, medicine, engineering, they have their own assessment strategies, and they do it very good. Yeah, the idea, again, it's for us to provide more opportunity. Sometimes the assessment is just one question. One question. For example, now I'm trying to remember. For example, we may ask them, how did you study for this exam? Okay? That's it. It's not for you, it's for them to think, oh, how did I study? Did it work for me or not? Okay, well, I studied with a group of students, other students. Oh, well, it didn't work for you because your score was very low, for example. I'm trying to say, yes, maybe it's their responsibility. However, our responsibility to provide them opportunities. Okay?
As a matter of fact, my colleague was talking about evaluation. There is a peer evaluation, a student evaluation, but when we come to the learning process, the assessment should be done under supervision of the faculty members.
Not always.
The students could be assessors, but who guides them? Who corrects them? The faculty members. You give them the feedback, then you share. You are part of assessment. You are the major part of assessment.
Okay, we facilitate, but we don't guide. I would say maybe we try to be a bit of a professor to our students. However, again, doctor, it's just to put the opportunity there for them. Would you do it? Please do it, and I will encourage them. But of course, we can't force them to do everything unless we will use grades in the classroom. Yeah, what learning outcomes? Yes, that's one. Okay, what else? Huh? Yes, like what? Yes, like what? Knowledge, that's one.
Skills and attitude.
Attitudes, okay.
If it's just like the curriculum on medicine or engineering doing this, also we measure the psychological
Yes, the skills too. Okay, very good.
ability to work with
The abilities, the skills and knowledge, very good.
Leadership.
Huh? We also assess, yeah, but here I'm talking about students learning. So, but that's very interesting, very good. Huh?
Leadership.
Like that. We'll come to it. Leadership, other stuff, yes. Okay, before we go broader, in fact, you said it all. Basically, we assess knowledge and skills and values or attitudes, as the doctor said. Okay? So, and this is, please notice, these are the learning outcomes, as we mentioned, at the course level. So, we'll ask ourselves, what do students know? What do students, or what can students do? These the skills, the abilities. And what do students care about? That's the values or attitudes. These three, actually, what we assess when we are talking about students learning. At the program level, we call them different names, but they're almost the same. So the cognitive objectives, what do you want your graduates to know? The behavioral objectives, what do you want your graduates to be able to do? And affective objectives, what do you want your graduates to think or care about after graduation? Okay? Okay, let's go back to the course. These three. Knowledge, skills, and values or attitudes. Very good. How can we decide? Of course, we have a range of knowledge, right? A range of skills, a range of attitudes and values. How to decide which of these we should assess? Huh?
each course has different
Okay.
Some of them really focus on knowledge, some on skills, some
Okay. Other thoughts?
All of them in a balanced way.
Yeah, but how? How should we be? Is there a guide for them? Huh? Bloom's? Okay.
Each we have, for each course, we have something that we personal. We have all of these learning outcomes on the phone.
Yes, that's course specifications. how we do course specifications? Based on what?
Learning
Huh?
objectives. Specify simple learning objectives. Key performance
Okay,
indicators.
okay, I love it. In fact, it's based on the national, this is in Saudi Arabia, national qualifications framework. Okay? We shouldn't come up with skills that we believe it's important. Okay? No, we should work within these 5 domains. We have 5 domains identified by what's called the National Qualifications Framework in Saudi Arabia. And these 5 are knowledge, cognitive skills, interpersonal skills and responsibility, communication, IT and numerical skills, and finally psychomotor skills. Okay? These are the 5 domains. I would encourage all of us to learn more about them and to attend some workshops about the domains and the learning outcomes. How to write very good learning outcomes. Okay, so these actually the 5, and it's within the national qualifications program.